It breaks my heart that our statistics are so big in the fact of, 1 in 5 kids can drown in a day of the age of 5 to 14. And so knowing just to be safe and what are the safe things that you can do is so important, and getting everybody to be aware of that water safety. One of the things we also do is we always say you have to ask permission to get into the pools, because how many times are kids wandering around and by a body of water and they just get used to going in. So when we teach them those habits to ask an adult, ask anybody can I get in the water, that really helps prevent a lot of negative outcomes. And then we also do what's called swim, float, swim. And that one is where they're swimming along and you might get a little tired, and then you flip over on your back, and when you're on your back, you can yell for help, you can breathe, catch your breath, and then you flip over and keep going. And our last one that we really work on is our jump, push, turn, grab. And that's if somebody were to fall into the water, they know to push off the bottom, turn around and grab the wall instead of trying to swim to the other side of that body of water. So those are 3 great things that if you can learn those to help you be safe in and around the water.
Statistically, people that have swim lessons, 40% of people who have swim lessons are less likely to have a water event than those who don't. When we do a lifeguard training, we do something called drowning school. And so we take all of the lifeguard candidates through what each drowning scenario might look like. And it's not what you see on the movies. It's not big arms and yelling for help. That's not what drowning is, And so we're training all of our lifeguards to watch for some of those silent cues of, they're vertical in the water, but they're not making any forward progress. So that's a sign that someone needs some help. And so just little things like that we're able to help our lifeguards identify and see so they can prevent bigger emergencies from happening. So a distressed swimmer is someone who, when they're swimming in water that might be a little bit too deep, they're not making a ton of forward progress. Their body is probably pointed toward an area of safety. So they're probably trying to swim toward a wall or toward a lane line or toward something that's floating that can help them swim. If a distressed swimmer doesn't necessarily have a rescue happen, they could turn into an active drowning victim, which means that that person is completely vertical in the water. They're moving a lot, but they're not making any forward progress. An active drowner can also not yell for help, and so their mouth is right beneath the surface of the water, and so they're trying as hard as they can. You'll see they're like pressing down on the water to try to get themselves up so that they can get a breath, but it's very difficult for them. And so a lot of times an active drowner, if nothing prevents them from continuing the process, then they could become a passive drowner, which means that they're unconscious in the water. So if you see someone floating face down in the water for anything more than 10 seconds, really, I would highly recommend checking it out, encouraging it, discouraging kiddos from playing breath holding games. That's a big one that we see a lot. So it's really not a safe game for the kiddos to play. So we really discourage that, and just always have parents being actively engaged, always there watching, and not on your cell phones. Everyone's just there, and you're watching your kiddos and you're engaged in their activity. If they're a little bit nervous and they feel themselves like having a tough time swimming, we teach swim, float, swim, which means if they're getting a little too tired and they don't feel like they can continue, we encourage them to roll onto their back and float, because that will help them relax, help their face is above the water and they can breathe. So that's one of the things that we really help the students learn for a self-rescue technique. Another thing that we talk about is never to swim out to a friend who might need help, because that friend is going to grab onto the first thing that they see that's going to help them, and that could be your body. And so we always tell them to either reach or throw, don't go. And so reach something out to a friend that needs help, or throw something out to them that floats. Anything that you have at the beach, a beach ball, a noodle, life jacket, even a disposable cooler. You dump the stuff out of the cooler, put the top on, and those float. And so you could throw that out to a person who needs help and encourage them to kick back to safety.